Today we're talking about creative blocks and social media pressure.
Dreadlabs.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Tom from Dreadlabs and I'm a freelance graphic designer and visual artist. Today I wanted to talk about a topic that in my opinion is becoming more and more important in the last couple of years if you are creative. And that's the social media pressure and the results it leads to. In my case, it usually leads to a creative block or shutting down completely. And in 2018, I've already experienced a nervous breakdown, which was a result of a couple of these factors. I know that a lot of you struggle with it as well because I can see it on my Discord, in my DMs on Instagram and anywhere else. So in today's video, I just wanted to discuss this a little bit and share a couple of tips that I have on them. And hopefully this video will help you a little bit in coping with creative blocks or social media pressure or both. If you have any tips for yourself, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. So first off, let's talk about why social media can actually lead to these thoughts and these creative blocks and these negative results. What I've experienced as a creative online is in the past couple of years, like the more you get into a certain niche, in my case of course that's graphic design stuff, the more of these people you will follow that are doing amazing work, the more of these people you can see becoming more and more successful, and the more you get the feeling that you are falling behind. It might not even be the case that you're falling behind. The thing might just be that, you know, you're feeling like you're competing against one person, but you're actually maybe subconsciously competing against like all of these people. Like I remember I just checked how many people I was following at one point and it was like over 500, and subconsciously I was actually telling myself that I needed to compete with over 500 designers, all of which were great designers, had a lot of cool projects, and sometimes that can lead to stuff like jealousy or, you know, negative self-thoughts and stuff like that. So this actually brings me to the first tip, and that's one thing that you might want to do. And in my case, I do freelance work as well, but I of course also do Dreadlabs, so for me it's also really important to keep staying in touch online, keep in touch with clients, but also make sure that I post every week, make sure that I make a new video every week and so forth. And even though that is very important, the first tip that I'm going to share with you is delete your social media apps for a while. With social media apps, I mainly mean Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Reddit. And that's because all of these apps are designed to distract you, but also to see like a lot of content in one like go. If you do like a simple scroll on TikTok, for example, you will maybe see 10, 20, maybe 50 like videos, and maybe all of these 50 videos will be videos that are from people that you look up to, or maybe that spark like some creativity in you, but also give you that feeling like, oh, I need to compete with this person. And that's something that you don't want to have if you are experiencing creative blocks or social media pressure. So if you still want to share all of your posts, what you can do is just schedule your posts. Nowadays with Facebook Business Suite, or later, you can actually schedule in your posts on Instagram, and through the Instagram app itself you can actually schedule reels as well. So what I would do is, for example, just plan in a bunch of posts and then delete the app for maybe like 5 days or something. Of course, this is sometimes not really desirable. So another thing that you can do is, I know there are a couple of phones that can lock you out of these apps after you've been using them for 1 hour or something. So maybe you want to use that hour to respond to DMs, to respond to emails, or respond to like, I don't know, comments that you generated on your post. And then you can just put your phone away because the post will be actually placed. As far as I know, there isn't really a scheduling app for TikTok yet, but you can use this feature in order to just post your TikTok and then just, you know, respond to some comments, and then just like after like 30 minutes or something, just go away and leave the apps behind you. So the next question will probably be, what are you going to do if you aren't wasting so much time away on social media? If you are having creative block, you might not be able to open up Photoshop, Illustrator, 3D software, whatever, and create something. And this is actually where you can do two things. You can either do like really low threshold stuff in order to try to spark your creativity again, or you can consume yourself with other stuff and inspiration in another way than social media. Let's talk about the low threshold making first. And what I mean by this is, I usually try to doodle or sketch in my sketchbooks. I actually have a sketchbook in my drawer at home, not in my office, where I do essentially whatever I want. I do collage stuff in it. I do some stuff with markers. I sketch sometimes just with pencil. The thing is, no one can actually see this sketchbook except for me. And that's not because it's like a super secret high quality sketchbook or something. That's just because I'm doing that for me. I'm creating that stuff for me, for myself, to spark creativity, to see if I can get better at certain things, but usually mostly to have fun. And it might just be the same with you, but for me, when I am like creating something, I immediately like think, oh, I need to share this with Dreadlabs, or oh, I need to make a business out of this. And that's from what I know, a lot of creative people struggle with that. And that sketchbook is something that's just for me. There's no business behind it. It's not going to be on a story. It's not going to be on an Instagram post or a YouTube video. It's just going to be for me. Something else, if you were, for example, a music producer, or if you are into music production, there are a lot of cool analog things that you can do in order to create some low threshold music. I'm not really like forcing you to open up FL Studio and make a new song, but for example, what I do is I sometimes just make beats on my Pocket Operator, sample some things and just jam away a little bit with my headphones on for an hour and just leave it be. Now for the other part, which is consuming yourself with inspiration. The first thing I would advise you to not do is go to Pinterest, because Pinterest is essentially the same thing as Instagram if you're going to just flood yourself with information and cool designs and cool pieces. So this is something that I wouldn't recommend. What I would do is either order some books or, you know, read some books. And those don't necessarily have to be like books containing like inspiration as in design, but also some books that might help you, I don't know, learn a new skill, like a soft skill, or maybe like read a biography of an artist that you look up to or something like that, because they can also be really inspiring as well. And it's low threshold because you just have to read. One other thing that I forgot, and that's something that you don't have to necessarily do as a creative, but it does help you do something with your hands and like looking away from your screen, and that's creating something like Legos, Gunpla. I recently had these ads where you get like mechanical like animals with like screws and nuts and bolts and stuff like that, so that's really cool. Like creating in that way, following like an instruction book, also really helps you spark your creativity maybe. So before we continue with the tips, I just wanted to let you know that I have a Patreon channel. You might have already noticed, but I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons, because thanks to them I'm actually able to give you guys free videos and tutorials on a weekly basis. Creating these videos and posts for you is actually quite a lot of work, and in order to do that, besides freelancing and stuff like that, YouTube's actually not generating enough income, but Patreon luckily makes up for that. As a thank you for becoming a patron, you get access to all of the project files from all of my tutorials, which at this point is over 100 Photoshop files. You'll also get a 15% discount in my asset web store, as well as an exclusive role in the Dreadlabs community server. If you go one tier up, you also get access to exclusive videos such as how to start your own clothing brand, the very basics of Illustrator, making a death metal logo from scratch, and much more. If you want to become a patron, there's a link down in the description, but for now, a huge shout out to all of the people who support me. Let's continue with the video. So after you saw the first part of this video, you might have given this some thought and you were thinking, okay, but I am actually so blocked out that I cannot create anything whatsoever. You still want to feel productive. And I talked about this with my creative time management tips as well, but it's something that I thought was worth sharing. And that's if you are feeling really uninspired and you still want to do something productive, what I would advise you to do is just declutter your desk or workspace or your room maybe, because this can also really get in the way of feeling creative. For example, before I had my office, you might have remembered this from older Dreadlabs videos, but I was making videos for my living room. And when I was doing this, I had an open kitchen in the living room, and there was like the dirty dishes would be standing there. And I was so compelled to like either clean those dishes or either sitting in like a dirty kitchen to work, and yeah, that really like blocked some parts of my creativity out. And if your room is clean, you might want to consider looking into the folders of your clients or your projects, or maybe your downloads folder, because my downloads folder gets really cluttery, and you might want to delete stuff you don't need any longer. And in the client work, you might want to organize the progress files and the deliverables and stuff like that. If all of these tips don't help you in any way, I have some last resort tips, and I really hope that if this is the case, that you're doing okay, and I hope you're doing well. And I really hope you're gonna get through this creative block. But the last tip I want to give you is find some inspiration from another creative field. So in this case, I'm talking about myself as a graphic designer, but I'm also really into music. Sometimes I watch these videos by this guy called Eliminate on YouTube. He's a very talented producer, and he tries to make songs with like really stupid videos and stuff like that. He makes some really creative stuff out of those videos, so I highly recommend checking him out. But what I'm mainly talking about, because watching someone else produce in FL Studio might also be like confronting a little bit, and also it's on YouTube. But what I would do is I would create playlists for myself. I would go and look for SoundCloud DJ sets, find new music, discover new music, ask around with your friends if they have any new music or artists worth checking out, maybe some playlists that you can check out, and see if you can involve yourself in some new music. Really go and sit down for this. For example, what I would do is if I book a ticket to a festival and there are some artists that I don't know yet, I just put them in a playlist and, you know, seeing if I like what their music is, and I might even find a new artist to check out to a festival that I'm already going to. And that kind of stuff also really inspires me. If you're not that much into music, you might want to check out some documentaries, but don't like limit yourself to only graphic design documentaries. For example, a documentary that I recently watched was the one of Quincy Jones, and that's also one that I found really inspiring. With all of that being said, these are some tips that help me cope with creative blocks, social media pressure, and potential burnouts. For me, in the past couple of years, they helped really well. I haven't had a nervous breakdown ever since 2018, luckily. There's a high chance that if you're watching this video, you are at least not doing well mentally as a creative. And from the bottom of my heart, I really hope that things will get better soon. And I hope these tips will help. That being said, if you have your own tips or if you went through something similar and you want to share your experience, please leave it down in the comments, because it actually really helps out the rest of the community as well. And one more time, I would like you to consider becoming a patron, because it actually really helps creating these videos for you guys. But if you don't have the budget to become a patron, of course, that's completely fine. Leaving a like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already does a lot. But if you want to become a patron, there's a link in the description. With all of that being said, this is Tom from Dreadlabs tuning out. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one.